Hey guys, welcome back to Midwest Fantasy Football Week 2. I'm back upstairs this week. It looks like I'm going to be flipping back and forth depending on the week where I'm going to record at. This week, Week 2, was quite the scoring bonanza. This was the highest scoring week in league history at an average of 127.03, passing 2019 Week 5 as their previous averages of 124.93, so a little bit more than 2 points, just across the board higher than every other before. Leading the party was Brandon's blown call, putting his name at the top of the scoreboard in league history by decimating Jason's Uratowel 202.1 to 93, a mammoth 109.1 point margin of victory.
That's gotta hurt, Frank. Oucharoo.
Brandon puts his name at the top of the pile of best scores in a single week in league history, being the first team ever to drop a 200-point bomb. His 202.1 points grabbed his third weekly high score and the second in 4 weeks of regular season play, dating back to Week 12 of 2019. It was also the second time we've ever had a 100-point blowout in league history, joining Chris's beatdown of Josh in the previous season. I guess your kicker kind of sucked this week, I guess. I mean, that's about the only negative I can ding on you. Robbie Gould underperformed his projections, scoring 8.6 points versus his 8.9 point estimate, down 0.3 points from estimates. 28.8 from Nick Chubb, 28.3 from Stephon Diggs, 27.5 from Mahomes, 26.4 from Calvin Ridley, and then the other four guys scored something like another 82 points besides that.
Okay, now you're just showing off.
For Jason, not only did you get your ass kicked, but then you end up losing once-in-a-generation talent Saquon Barkley for the season in the game versus Brandon, who you got into a bidding war with him over originally.
This sucks, Boz.
You did get a significant 37.5 points from Josh Allen to win the QB matchup versus Brandon, but you pretty much got rolled everywhere else. You lost Cam Akers, you managed to scrape together 9.7 points from Ronald Jones, despite him only having a single carry and 2 catches. T.Y. Hilton put up only 4.3 points. It was just the kind of week where you just take your lumps, tip your cat to your opponent, and move on to the next week. Week 2's closest game was still not all that close, with Alex's Do I Say Deuce Out outpacing Lee's Pass Me the Mostert 111.8 to 96.6, a 15.2 point margin of victory. Alex continues his personal streak in the Alex Lee matchup, moving to 3-0 all time. Alex got 25 points from Terry McLaurin, 21 points from Jonathan Taylor, and 18.7 points in a quiet performance from Aaron Rodgers. You got the win despite a rough performance from both Sammy Watkins and Emmanuel Sanders, who combined to just get you 3.9 points total. For Lee, you got a gigantic 42.8 points from Dak Prescott in the Insanity Was the Dallas Comeback versus Atlanta. Raheem Mostert added 17.7 points, and Robert Woods added 10.3. This week, you rocked both the number 1 and number 2 scoring quarterbacks, as Cam Newton's 37.6 points rode the pine to back up Dak. In terms of mistakes, it probably would have been a good week to bench Will Fuller.
They call me Mr. Glass.
Despite having no injury listed, he spent most of the Texan games stretching on the sidelines and not having football thrown at him. Whereas Leonard Fournette wandered into Tampa and pretty much stole all the fantasy points the running back position had to offer.
Heist.
Fournette ended up putting up 28.6 points sitting on your bench, which would have been enough to get you the win. Going down the list for the high scores this week, Chris had the next highest game, grabbing the win over Drew's Run CMC 155.3 to 116.7, a 38.6 point margin of victory. The worst part of this game was that Chris was at my house for Sunday Night Football, and I got the pleasure of watching Russell Wilson and Julian Edelman slowly roll over top of you, Drew. Wilson wasn't even the top scorer for Chris, putting up 33.4 points, but nearly missing out on that title to Alvin Kamara's 33.9 points. Julian Edelman followed that up with a career-high 179 yards and 24.9 points. And then there was 22.4 points from Jonnu Smith. David Johnson and Darius Slayton had a pretty pedestrian day, putting up 6 and 4.8 points respectively. For Drew, you got 22.8 points from Christian McCaffrey, who was unfortunately injured and will be out for a few weeks. You had some solid games to back him up with 19.3 from Tyreek Hill, 18.2 from Big Ben, and 17.2 from Young Hookoo.
Who?
Adam Thielen kind of potatoed, only putting up 4.6 points. Mark Andrews as well with only 3.4. Your 116 points was nearly your projected score for the week, just coming up short by a point or two, which Chris didn't really care for. The next highest scoring game was Josh's Please Not Last, sliding into second place overall after week 2 with a 150 to 94.8 point win over the last Dob. As it turns out, there was a party for offenses this week, and I wasn't invited.
You're not invited.
To what?
Josh was led by 28.5 points from Matt Ryan, 25.9 points from Tyler Higbee, and 5 other players who scored between 13 and 20 points. A strong, solid day across the board. Immediately after the draft, many people noticed that it was one of your best drafts, probably because you mostly did it remotely and didn't get hammered. Super glad that you were able to bring that dream team to fruition against me. Thanks for that. The only weakness that you had this week was the 14.4 points that Juju Smith-Schuster and Jarvis Landry combined to give you. My squad was led by Mike Gesicki's 26-point game, 17.5 points from Lamar Jackson, and 16.8 points from Justin Tucker. Pretty much every boom or bust start I went with the busted side this week, as Scotty Miller in my flex put up only 2.2 points. The Colts forgot Nyheim Hines existed after last week with his one touch, and Allen Robinson continues to play for the crap offense that is the Bears. Even if I had swapped in Josh Kelly, Chris Davis, and Melvin Gordon, I still would have lost comfortably. That's what I get for gambling on the long shots.
You're not just gonna let him die like that, are you?
My shoulder angel.
Don't listen to that guy. He's trying to lead you down the path of righteousness. I'm gonna lead you down the path that rocks.
I'll come off it.
You come off it.
You.
You, Infinity.
Ah.
Listen up, big guy. I got 3 good reasons why you should just walk away. Number 1, look at that guy. He's got that sissy stringy music thing.
We've been through this. It's a harp, and you know it.
All right, that's a harp, and that's a dress.
Robe.
Reason number 2, look what I can do.
But what does that have to do with anything?
No. He's got a point.
Listen, you guys, you're sort of confusing me, so, be gone. However I get rid of you guys.
That'll work.
Scotty B's Hey Buddies knocks off Nick's T-Boys to Men 142.4 to 118.3, a 24.1 point margin of victory. Aaron Rodgers had such a slow day because Aaron Jones decided to beat the pants off of Detroit, dropping a 46.6 points a day to lead all scorers in Week 2, which is saying something this week.
I believe eating the lions gives me power.
Aside Aaron Jones' huge game, James Robinson added 22.5 points, and DeAndre Hopkins added 16.8 points in Arizona. You managed to have Austin Hooper only score 3.2 points and still put up a 140-point day. You did trot out the ideal lineup this week, having 0 players on your bench who would have been an improvement over your starters. For Nick, you got 24 from Jared Goff, 20.2 from David Montgomery, 16.2 from Tyler Lockett, 16.1 from Dalvin Cook, and 15.7 from Noah Fant. And then there's Julio Jones. Somehow Matt Ryan managed to throw for 273 yards and 4 touchdowns, and only Julio would find a way to only come up with 2 catches for 24 yards. He seems to have these sporadic crap games throughout the season and then still ends up with one of the top 5 wide receiver spots of the season. You could have gotten a win this week with some crazy person moves like swapping out Julio for Deontay Johnson and Jerick McKinnon for Kenyon Drake, but those would have been a heck of a reach. And finally, Derek's a motherfucker drops Pope 2.0's pew-pews into last place, grabbing the win by a 131.3 to 111.9 score, a 19.4 point margin of victory. Derek was led by 32.1 points from Kyler Murray, 20.3 points from the Pittsburgh defense, and 4 other games between 15 and 20 points. AJ Green only added in with 4.4 points as it looks like Father Time may be catching up with him, and Matt Prater only added 3 PATs in for the Lions as the Packers pretty much rolled over them on the day. Pope 2.0, you got 19.5 points from Travis Kelce and 16.7 points from Tyler Boyd. You had an 111-point game. This was nothing to complain about. You had 7 of your 9 guys scoring double digits, but nobody really went off for a huge game. Todd Gurley only put up 6.1 points for Atlanta, which could have been improved by getting Antonio Gibson into your starting lineup for an extra 5 points. Wouldn't have mattered enough to catch Derek. There were no new wagers yet this week, and it's Tuesday when I'm recording this, so there have been no waivers to talk about yet. Waivers didn't really work out much for the 3 big claims last week. Darius Slayton did a little something, like 3 or 4 points. Nyheim Hines did almost nothing, 1 or 2 points. And Benny Snell did actually less than nothing with a negative score. Hope everybody else has a lot better luck than that this week. I covered all my stats already, and just a friendly reminder that Brandon and Josh haven't paid me yet. I'm just going to keep putting it in here in the video to shame them until they contact me about their debts, rather than me nagging them via text. Good luck to all those who are going to be trying to fill some injury gaps in the waiver wire system in the morning, and good luck to everybody in Week 3 in their scoring. Talk to you next week.